In this video, I'm going to show you what you can expect under a Biden presidency. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
President Biden platformed on 5 major changes to Social Security. And with a Democratic Congress and a Democratic president, there's a chance that these might actually happen. And that's what we're going to cover off next. Stick around to the end because I'm going to also discuss what could go wrong between now and the time the bill is enacted into law. Before we get into it, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider subscribing and clicking notifications. Social Security is changing fast, and I work very hard to get what's out there into here and give you the latest information. All right, let's get into it. First, all but one of President Biden's proposals improve the benefits to Social Security recipients, but the trust is actually set to run out of funds in 2034. And improving the benefits will only speed up the depletion of those funds. If the funds are not replenished, in order to pay for what President Biden is proposing, he will have to tap into the general account of the U.S. Treasury. We'll talk about how President Biden funds these changes in the last point. Point number 1 is an increase of the special minimum benefit level to 125% of the federal poverty line. The special minimum benefit is an exception to the math behind Social Security payments, which is a combination of the years that you contributed and the amount per year that you contributed. The two together determine the size of your Social Security payment. The special minimum benefit is there for people that worked their entire lives in low-income jobs, and it's there to prevent them from retiring in dire straits. In 2020, this payment was $886.40, which is 17% below the federal poverty line. This benefit is there to provide a certain minimum payment to those that contributed to Social Security their entire lives, even if the contribution was less than most people in this country. For reference, 75,000 people receive this benefit every year. It's not a large number. It's based on 30 years of contribution, and if they contribute for less than 30 years, then the minimum payment goes down by $40 to $50 a month for every year less than 30 years that they contributed. Of course, if they had some good earning years in there as well, the payment would be the larger of what they're entitled to under the regular program or the minimum payment. Also, before we go any further, please hit the like button. YouTube uses the number of likes as its algorithm, and I want this video to go up in the search results so that I can help as many people as possible. Now back to the video. Point number 2 is an increase in survivor benefits. Like it or hate it, Social Security has a certain logic to it, at least when it comes to the primary earner's benefits. You can either take Social Security early and receive smaller payments, but more of them, or you can take Social Security later and receive larger payments, but less of them. But I have to admit, the rules around the survivor benefit seem quite arbitrary. The surviving spouse gets the larger of their own payment or their deceased partner's payment, but not both. If the primary earner passes away suddenly, then the surviving spouse will lose out on a lifetime of contributions, quite often the two of them together in separate jobs, simply because the primary earner departed much more quickly than either one was expecting. In essence, a non-working spouse and a spouse that worked but contributed less to Social Security than his or her partner end up in exactly the same spot. They draw on the higher payment that was due the deceased. The proposed change to the survivor benefit addresses this problem. If the higher earner received $2,000 a month from Social Security and the spouse received $1,300 a month from Social Security on their own account, when the higher earner passes, the spouse is entitled to a maximum of $2,000. This means that he or she is down $1,300 a month, which is roughly 61% of their combined payments. The logic behind this is that you don't fund two individuals' lifestyles anymore, you only fund one. But if you're paying rent, for example, the landlord doesn't let you cut your rent down to 61% of what it was before simply because your partner passed. The way the benefit is cast now, it doesn't equate to the economics of the surviving spouse and what they still have to pay for. The new survivor benefit addresses this situation. If you're the survivor, you receive 75% of your own benefit, in this case 75% of $1,300, which is $975, and you receive 75% of your deceased spouse's benefit, which is 2,000 times 0.75 or $1,500. The combination is $2,475, and that's much more livable than $2,000 and probably more reflective of the real economics of the surviving spouse. Point number 3 is a change in the cost of living allowance from CPIW to CPIE. CPIW is the change in the basket of a typical person who lives in or around a city and is in a clerical position. CPIE is more reflective of an elderly individual and has a much higher weighting towards medical costs and a lower weighting towards things such as travel, food, etc., because you're not spending as much on those items as you get older. You'd be surprised how close they actually are. CPIE is about 0.25% higher on average over the last decade or so than CPIW. Now that's something, of course, but it's not the big game changer that people think that it is. Point number 4 is what I call the super senior increase, and it's actually one of my favorites. This is basically a longevity bonus, and it acknowledges the fact that when you become much older, the costs associated with living go way up and frankly are much more slanted towards medical costs than you would see in your typical retiree profile. The way that it works is that after 15 years of receiving benefits, in your 16th year all the way up through your 20th year, your COLA is increased by an additional 1%. That's 1% per year, so between years 16 and years 20, your increase has gone up by 5% more than the cost of living adjustment. So if a person took Social Security at age 67, at age 83, their payment would start to increase by 1% per year, all the way up to age 88. At the beginning of this video, I addressed the fact that spending more from a depleting trust doesn't make a lot of sense economically. It just doesn't work. Point number 5 addresses this issue, sort of. The Biden plan adds an additional tax on Social Security for anyone earning $400,000 or more. Effectively, it is a barbell plan. You have Social Security taken out of the recipient's first $142,800 in the case of the 2021 number, and then again from $400,000 and beyond. This may sound like an easy solution because the number of people earning that level of income or higher in this country is relatively small, and frankly they can't really say no. But that is exactly the problem. Because the number of people earning $400,000 or more is such a small amount, that only extends the longevity of the trust to 2040. Then there are other issues. Generally, when a change of this magnitude is proposed, there's something called pork, which is put into the proposal, and it funds things that have nothing at all related to, in this case, Social Security. The addition of pork is what often causes these things to fail, and with such a tight Senate majority, it could very well get tied up in endless negotiation, much like some of the other legislation that's going through even now. The moment a line item is added to the bill, it becomes a point of negotiation, sometimes taking weeks or even months to resolve. So hopefully if this goes through, they construct a bill that works well for both sides of the aisle. In my next video, I'm going to discuss 5 Social Security myths that can ruin your retirement if you actually believe them. So make sure you click subscribe and notifications so that you get alerted the next time I post a video. I post about twice a week. Also check out this video right here on why nearly 40% of all retirees take Social Security at age 62. This is Jeff Schmidt. Thanks for watching.